Based on the great new book Uncovering Mindfulness, In Search of a Life More Meaningful, we bring you a new series of podcasts called From Mindfulness with Love by Paul Mudd, the author. Here's today's podcast. We hope you enjoy.
Are you in search of a life more meaningful? Welcome to the podcast that takes you from mindful to mindful. Leadership, resilience, compassion, success. Join the journey. From Mindfulness with Love, here's your host, Paul Mudd.
Hello and welcome. In our previous podcast, we called for a mindful revolution and made, I hope, a compelling case for why. We also looked at some of the proven benefits which practicing and living mindfully can bring by spending as little as 5 minutes a day for just 8 weeks. And we set out a simple 5-step plan for bringing about a mindful revolution. In today's podcast, I want to talk about mindfulness and education, which I also look at in Chapter 5 of my book, Uncovering Mindfulness, In Search of a Life More Meaningful. Mindfulness has been called WD-40 for education. An interesting way to describe it, I think. So let's take a look at what it says on the tin. Well, on a can of WD-40, it claims it stops squeaks, dries out moisture, cleans and protects, loosens rusted parts, and frees sticky mechanisms. Whilst the results from some of the schools where mindfulness practice has been introduced both in the UK, the United States and Canada include lowered levels of cortisol, that's the stress hormone, improved attention and concentration, a calmer classroom and happier children, and outside the classroom, improved sleep patterns, whilst back in the classroom, improved math scores amongst other things, as well as more collaborative learning, more sharing, and less falling out. That sounds like it might be stopping squeaks at the very least. Whilst a recent study in China of a group of 4-year-olds who had undertaken mindfulness training in the classroom found it dramatically improved self-control. In the USA and Canada, a Mind Up program has been introduced into schools with the support of the Hollywood actress Goldie Hawn and the neuroscientist Dan Siegel. The Mind Up program follows a curriculum of up to 15 lessons designed to teach the children about the brain and become more aware of their own thoughts and emotions. In essence, to begin to learn how to learn and develop the ability to be aware and understand their own thought processes, to think about thinking, or to give it its technical term, metacognition. The research which is now taking place on the effects this is having has found that as the child's awareness develops, they gain better control over their own thinking and the ability to direct their attention to improve learning, while stress levels naturally reduce and the child becomes more confident and generally happier and more positive in their outlook, so driving out moisture and freeing those sticky mechanisms perhaps. In the UK, meanwhile, a Mindfulness in Schools project has been offering 8-week programs, and Tunbridge School in Kent and Hampton School in Middlesex were the first British schools to include mindfulness in their curriculum for all 13 to 14-year-olds, which is an older target age group than in the US and Canada, where the Mind Up program has typically been introduced at around the 4th or 5th grade, and has also included introducing things such as 3-minute breathing exercises and keeping gratitude journals. The big takeaway from today's podcast is, I feel, that children who are taught to be mindful, to pay attention in the present intentionally and without judgment, are better positioned to succeed both in school and in later life. And why? Well, why? Because they are getting the inside track on developing an emotional and social skill for living smarter, healthier, and happier lives. And how many adults do we know who would really benefit from that? When we talked in a previous podcast about the 5 steps to a mindful revolution, we noted that one of these steps was the importance of putting day-to-day happiness at the heart of every policy decision. I would also suggest that as we consider the value of happiness as part of this, we must also invest early in the lives of our children so that they can indeed grow up to become independent, productive and happy adults, contributing both socially and economically. Thank you very much for listening, and I'd very much like to hear what you think, and you can email me at paul@themudpartnership.co.uk, and that's all lowercase and mud with 2 Ds. For online mindfulness resources for teachers, you can check out the website www.mindfulnessinschools.org/, which again is all lowercase. To follow the continuing journey uncovering mindfulness on Twitter, go to @themindfulbook, and that's capital T, capital M, capital B. And you can still get copies of the book Uncovering Mindfulness in Search of a Life More Meaningful on Amazon.com. So, until the next time, let's all be mindful. Hell yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed, please subscribe and leave a review. We want your feedback. Help us support your journey uncovering mindfulness in search of a life more meaningful. From Mindfulness with Love, we'll catch you next time.